I'm here with Bob Murphy. He's a six-time Equinox Marathon champion. He was just back in Fairbanks to run in the 50th. Got second in the 60-64 age class to Guy Thibodeau. And gonna get a few memories from Bob about the Equinox. So tell me about your first Equinox Marathon, Bob.
That was painful, John. First Equinox was in 1977. Claire and I had just moved here, and after a couple of years in the bush, and you know, I never was really that much of a competitive runner up to that point, although I did race in the summer and had done pretty well around here. And took on the Equinox, and actually, yeah, I developed competency as a runner pretty quickly, so I led the race for like 20 miles.
And this was your first marathon of your career?
This is the first marathon and first Equinox.
So you really had the pacing down.
Yeah, I had it totally down. And you know, I got consumed by the wall. And so I was still leading going down Henderson Road, and maybe even to the bottom, can't quite recall, and maybe even onto the power line, but then things crumbled.
How bad did they crumble?
They crumbled to about, I was certainly under a 3-hour pace to, I think I ran 3:21, and maybe dropped to 11th position or so.
Whoa, that sounds exciting.
It was ugly. I think they considered the ambulance call. It didn't happen, but.
And then next year was your first victory. What about that one?
Well, you know, I knew I had some gifts as a runner, and so I spent, even throughout the winter, I spent the next year training, and certainly certainly wanted to come back and change how I finished the Equinox. But I think the next summer I ran my first mares, and I guess I won there. And then trained throughout the summer for Equinox, and certainly had a better idea what to expect. But I led the race again. I was a front runner. A lot of times I got burned by that, but I don't regret that. And it's funny because the year before, Eric Skidmore had won, and so he was running with another Anchorage runner who had the state record for a while, Larry Seathaler, really good runner. Eric was obviously a good runner. And rumor has it that Larry said to Eric, well, should we go catch him? And Eric said, nah, he did the same thing last year, so we'll catch up to him in no time. And that's one of my proud moments in Equinox. I was the first person under 250. Ole Christensen was kind of a legend, and he had ran 2:53, I think, and so I improved on that by 5 minutes, and got a lot of just great accolades and recognition and press, and it was very cool. So that was kind of the start of the run.
And how many more sub-250s did you do?
What did I do? I did 246s, a 247, a 248. Is my recollection, so I would say 4.
All right. Two of your Equinoxes that I remember best are 95, when Tony Davies got you by 5 seconds, and then was it the next year that you won when you were the oldest guy to win? Or what year was that?
I believe that was flipped.
Flipped?
Yeah, I think I won in '94 at 42.
42, yep.
And
then Tony in 95
would have given me 7.
Yeah.
Which would have been the only thing that kept me ahead of Stan. But I'm proud of that race as well, because my traditional Equinox was somebody catching me, not me catching somebody. And it was great to win at 42, but I think I won in 3:01 or something. And the next year I actually ran 3 minutes faster, and I was catching Tony. And that was a new thing for me. In fact, to this day, I would say if Brian Schaefer wasn't standing outside of the last turn into the trail and screamed at Tony, I think I may have surprised him.
Yeah, I remember watching you running down Kuskokwim Drive.
Man,
You must have been sub 5 pace at that point, it looked like.
We watched the tape the other day at Ron Johnson's. He happened to turn it on. And, well, actually, yeah, we watched the tape of it the other day. And my family was just screaming. You could hear my kids and Claire and Pat, or just other people just screaming and playing Chariots of Fire out the window. And it was very exciting.
Yeah. When, in that race, when did you catch sight of Tony and start thinking about trying to win?
Well, I remember somebody yelled out on that tape, "You've cut the lead to 4 minutes," and that was back on the Gold Hill or Old Indiana Highway. And, and then it crept down to 3, and then I think when I went in the woods, I was still 1.5 or 2 minutes behind him, and I made up some more time going up through the woods, which I usually ended up walking through, so that was a pleasant surprise. And so I got to the top of Kuskokwim Drive, and he was like halfway down. And I thought, this is unique. So it was very cool.
Yeah. It was funny because the thing I remember from that race was Tony crossing the line and then turning around, putting his hands on his knees because he was so exhausted and looking at you. And the picture of you in this year's paper was exactly the same position that Tony Davies was in after the race.
Yeah, Claire said it's my classic pose.
Yeah.
And actually, we were both like that. It was kind of like exhausted
Yeah.
gunslingers.
Do you have any special memories about the Equinox? You've won 6, so I know it's an important race. You came back for the 50th, but anything, just sort of a general special thing about the race that...
Yeah, I've got tremendous memories about it. Not ones I can always attach to certain years, but having my brother here during that 248. There's a picture up on top where it had snowed lightly that morning, and as we crested over Esther Dome and went into the saddle, we were running along together, and it was really a very special memory. And then watching the kids support me the other day. I was watching Connor, and he's running along with me and giving me water, and then afterwards he's kind of holding me up, and then now having Meg do it and start a new generation of maybe continued Murphy contact with the Equinox will be really fun.
And you and Stan were, between the two of you, you dominated the race for 10 to 12 years, and you only really kind of battled it out head-to-head, it looks like 4 times from the results, and you were 2-2. And do you have any memories of those where it was just a knockdown, drag-out, heavyweight
very
fight?
Skewed. I feel like it's 6-0 in favor of Stan. Let's face it. I think as a maybe in a broader way, I was a better runner. But there's nobody that compares to what Stan did on Equinox. And I saved some old articles and I reread they did a feature in the Heartland on running on Equinox time, and it was about Stan. It was so well written, but really characterized how effective he was in getting ready for and dealing with that race. I think the only thing it left out was the fact that he'd spent a lot of that training down in the Alaska range, and I think that's what really put him over the top. So.
Yeah. And this year, Eric Strabel ran a superb time, actually bumped you 1 spot in the all-time fast guys list. And for the last 5 or 6 years, it seems like we've been having, not every year, but a sub 250 on fairly regular basis. Do you think there was a long lull after you and Stan kind of went off the scene where the winning times were pretty slow and so on? Do you think there's a new golden age starting, or?
Well, you'd like to think so. Eric apologized to me the other night. I said, you don't gotta apologize to me. If you love running, you love seeing people perform like that. And so I think he'll be back and improve on it. I feel badly that Matt Dunlap didn't get a chance to go with them.
Yeah.
Because I think then maybe the time would have even gone a little lower.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of encouragement wrapped up in there. You know, you have the women's record having been run by Susan Faulkner at 2:50, or when she's 43, which is remarkable. And Stan set his time at when he was 37 years old. So, you know, that should give encouragement that people like that are hanging out there and still think, well, I have one more good Equinox in me. That should be very inspiring.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it's going to be another streak.
All right. And do you think you'll be back, try to get the 60 record?
John, you expect me to say that on camera? Hey,
I just try. I didn't ask if you were going to get it.
This is the first time I ever walked off the Equinox finish line and said, okay, I'm coming back. Never at a younger age, because it always hurt so much. But, you know, not that I could get that record, but I can get closer, and I want to take another shot. So it was so much fun to be here for number 50. And I'm really kind of energized, because I've been running, you know, for an old guy effectively again. And so, yeah, I will be back.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Bob Murphy, 6-time champion. Glad you were able to share your memories. Thanks.
It's a pleasure.